Okay.
Okay.
Big H.
Big H. Yes.
Harry Purdy,
My guy.
as he's told me to pronounce his name. I thought it was Purley.
Pearly boy.
But no, he just asked me how I do introductions, and he was excited for me to do it. To show how I do mine. This is how I do mine. So I don't screw it up, tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Harry Purdy, not Pearly, like a necklace. And I am a podcaster, coach, runner, change man.
You are.
Change man.
You are the new you of the old you.
The new you of the... That is, yeah, that's fucking absolutely right, yeah.
But no, honestly, I wanted to get you on the podcast simply because we met on a cold day.
On a cold winter's night.
Yeah,
well, it wasn't even a winter's night, was it? Yeah.
No, it felt like it though. Shit, the weather changed quick though, didn't it? But we were walking Snowdon, holding hands,
We were.
smiling away, and like dickheads, we were at the front.
Yeah. Yeah. Weirdly, like, comfortably at the front as well. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about comfortably.
Yeah.
The outside was.
Yeah, well,
comfortable.
yeah. That's right. Inside, freezing.
You know, obviously, like we met up Snowdon, on Snowdon,
Up Snowdon.
but first time I met you, and we, I guess we're linked eyes, didn't we? It was a good,
Link
it was
ties,
a good connect.
connection straight away. Yeah, it
But
was
no, it's funny. You know what? It's quite a good one because if you meet someone when you're, I won't say suffering because it's not quite suffering, but when you're having to focus on the task being done, you find out who's there, right?
for sure.
And
I
that's
think,
a great way to meet someone.
yeah, for sure. And I think when you're doing any kind of physical exercise, pushing yourself to, I wouldn't say for me, I don't mean this in a big-headed way. That didn't really.
It wasn't extreme, no.
It didn't test me. But when you're doing any form of physical exercise, especially when it comes to cardio, hikes, walks, runs, over a long period of time, having some company just takes a little bit of the emphasis away from what you're doing, right? So it was good to chat, good to shoot the shit, and I guess we're doing it more formally in this setting now, right?
Yeah, just not sweating. I don't know, actually, it's fucking hot at the minute.
I'm fucking sweating. I'm telling you that. I can feel it dripping down my armpits. Yeah, that's it.
But no, so with who you are and where you've been, like, I want to obviously put a big emphasis today on who you were versus who you are now.
For sure.
But just for the guys, so they know what you do now, like what are you doing currently? What is your business? Who are you focused on, and all that type of stuff?
So, fundamentally, firstly, I started as a podcast host, which I still am, and that is a big part of who I am. It's my hobby that I won't and haven't dropped. I've just hit over 20k downloads now on the podcast platform download thingy that you can see where you're at.
Yeah. Who are you using?
Spotify for podcasters.
So their own. Yeah.
So it's really good platform. And over the two podcast hosts that I've had, so I had Buzzsprout and Spotify, I've now between the two of them collected over 20k downloads, which is a really nice milestone to see, and you kind of see that progress, which is cool. And the idea of that podcast originally was to help local sports people, but quite quickly found when I was speaking to even local people, nobody who'd done anything professional, I wanted to speak about mindset. I wanted to see how they'd overcome challenges, and because that related to my own story of being really fat, really unhappy, and finding my own way of unraveling it and challenging myself to become a better version of myself. So now it was called the Grassroots Guy podcast. Now it's called the 100% podcast. So that's the first part of me. And then quite quickly, when that started evolving and people would hear about how I would talk about weight loss fundamentally, and then mindset shifting as well, which can sound a bit wanky, but going from being a negative fuck to how I am now, quite highly motivated, energetic, people would ask me how I did it. Quite, yeah. I think obviously
you are.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and even if I'm not feeling great myself, I'll try and put some kind of positive spin on the situation. And again, we spoke about perception. I don't mind letting people into the backstage secrets. We've recorded 2 podcasts today. This is the second one, and we spoke about perception a lot on me interviewing you on the 100% podcast. And I think that's so key. And when you crack that, it's massive. But going back to where I am, it started as like my mates coming to me, can you help me lose a bit of weight? Can you? And then I'd do it for free to begin with, and then I'd be like,
that was after your journey, right?
Oh yeah. Which I mean,
is the reason why they turned to you, yeah.
Yeah. I am now still on a journey of becoming the fittest, healthiest, more positive, energetic version of myself. And even when I started coaching 2.5 years ago for free at the time, and then I started like asking a bit of money for people I didn't know as well and all those kind of things. That journey's evolved to me now running the 100% coaching business, Harry Purdy Coaching, where I help people essentially become a healthier version of them. And normally that evolves around fat loss coaching.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, you was a big anchor of it because that's what you did.
For sure.
But as well, without this sounding like it means it's easy, because I don't mean it's easy, but it's a simple niche to focus on because there are so many people that want to lose weight that don't feel like they move forward.
And it still surprises me, Dean, you know, the conversations or the lack of conversation on the fundamentals of how you lose fat in a healthy way. I was even like, occasionally I'll get stuck on TikTok after I've posted a video. I'll just see what like my friends have posted or whatever. And it may have even have been this weekend. I was just scrolling through and there was a couple of guys doing like box fit in a park in Liverpool. That's what they do as a live, blah, blah. And I just like stuck 30 seconds and one of their viewers asked the question of, how do you get abs like what you've got? And don't get me wrong, these fellas are in great nick. They do this box fit thing every day. They share their tricks. They obviously like get paid to use TikTok, but they didn't actually answer the question of how people lose fat.
Blueberries, right?
Well, yeah, lots of blueberries. Yeah, and if you eat like 1/5 of an avocado at 7 o'clock every Friday,
No, it's
tends to...
half 7. It's changed.
It's half 7 now, is it? Yeah. So, but
Keep up.
Yeah, keep up, Harry. God. But on a serious note, he said the ab exercises he was doing was the thing that was creating the abs.
Wow.
And he did say you do need to lose the fat there, but he didn't explain how. And this, like, you're looking at a guy with like 3,500 people watching this live, and maybe 3,000 of those people have never heard about putting yourself in a fucking calorie deficit to lose body fat or body weight, whichever way you want to look at it. And is something still that I have a passion about sharing with the wider pop who don't know, because that was where I was at, right? I was one of those people in 2016 that I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't know what to do until the shiny face of James Smith popped up on my Facebook
And called you fat.
and called me a fat cunt. Yeah,
Because he fucking did.
yeah,
didn't he?
yeah, for sure.
He talks to everyone that's watching him, and he tells the truth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Fair
you know,
play.
like when you think about it, Paul even said I did a hot seat with him. When I say Paul Mort, my mindset coach, he was like, "You're a nice guy. You don't need to approach situations in that way. You have your own way of doing it. But sometimes you do need to call a spade, and sometimes there is a place for asking the right questions to get the right answers when you're coaching
100%.
people. But also, there's a space for saying, hold on a minute, Dean, you said you were going to do X, Y, and Z this week, and you've done none of the three.
Yeah.
I can't coach somebody.
How can I help you?
Yeah. Exactly that.
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying, there's still a huge space for education in the fat loss world. And I do think calorie deficit is spoken about more. But I do think also that when you, well, even I look at myself as an example, when you talk about fat loss, it isn't necessarily the fat loss thing that people want to achieve first. There's something that's stopping them doing it. Because 9 times out of 10, even if you said to them, how do you lose weight, or how do you think you lose weight, they'll say eat less and maybe go for a few runs, or they'll know that the two elements are there. Like,
So which one are you not doing?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
You literally answer their own thing. Yeah.
yeah. And but then when it comes to the breaking it down in an easy way, which I think putting yourself in a calorie deficit and sticking to that for a period of time is, well, I don't even think that's the way it's scientifically the way that you lose weight, whether you're in you're losing weight from being fasting, or whether you're losing weight from being on a keto diet, or whether you're losing weight from being on carnivore, or all of these things, no matter what it's labeled at, they are a calorie fucking deficit.
Yeah. So look at, like, how old are you now?
31, and I'm 32 in 3 weeks time.
Cool. I'll start getting your present ready then.
Thank you, mate.
So look at your life from where you are now. Obviously, let's reverse right back to the start of mini Harry.
You weren't many.
What did it look like? So when you grew up in the area, Where were you?
Southwest of England, place called outskirts of Yeovil, Stokes upon Them, beautiful village. Like my upbringing in comparison to you, mate, it's two different ends of the spectrum, right? Rural area, really quiet school, couple of bellends, as there always were, that you always had your eye on. But actually, when I think about my upbringing, comfortable. And when I look at like the life changes that I've made, my life was probably, and I spoke about this with my therapist actually, when we got quite far in, and I was like, I don't know where all of these problems that I've created myself have come from, because I've had quite a comfortable life. And I think that's why I started to create my own problems. Everything was
it's a known thing.
yeah, everything was too simple. But that's a by the by right now.
Complex brain.
And where was Harry? He was somebody that, like, I don't like to think of it as an excuse, but it definitely had a part of my younger adulthood and how I behaved at certain times. I watched my parents pretty much splitting up they'd never admit it, but I knew that there was no real loving relationship in that relationship when they were married in my later teenage years, because their relationship revolved around me. And as soon as I became independent, they had different lives, and then that led to them splitting up. So I was unhappy with that. Like, I always thought my family were going to be together forever.
You the only one?
I was the only one, yeah. So I had nobody really I have an amazing relationship with my cousins, but when they're not there in the situation, you can't really speak to them about what's happening. And I guess like it was hard at the time because I never really would speak to anybody about my parents splitting up, because I didn't really want to admit it myself. But I started to partake in, when I look back at it now, insanely unhealthy behaviors. Like I swear, when people speak about, if you speak to a football manager player, they'll know they call it like the football manager addiction. But I had that. Like, I would just lock myself into a simulated football world for fucking 10 hours a day, and without really realizing it, I'd go through like a packet of Starburst, a whole pack of digestive biscuits, blah blah blah, and obviously that would end up like with me putting on weight. But then the secondary thing that happened to lead to where I went to college to do public services. At the time, I wanted to be either in the Navy or in the police. It was like one of those things which, when I look back on now, I find quite amusing, because I still don't like being told what to do. So either way, it wouldn't have been. Yeah, it wouldn't have been a thing. But when I was at college, that was the time when my mum left the family home, and I decided to stay with dad. And I did find that difficult. I can't pinpoint how I found that really difficult, but because I know now when I look back at it that there was other behaviours that, like, as soon as I was 18, I loved like a Thursday night out in town. There used to be a thing. It was like all you can drink at beach on a Thursday night. And whilst I was at college, so I'd go out and get absolutely fucked up on a Thursday night, and then go and play football on the Friday morning. So the balance was...
Two different types of people, yeah.
Yeah, but the balance was okay, because I could get away with the drinks because I was exercising. And then I left college, became a security guard at Asda, which I've spoken about many times about on my own podcast and previous guest appearances. And you are literally surrounded by every bit of like man-made shit food that you can be, and every single crux that you want to scratch on that day. Say you fancied a muffin, you literally walk down 5 meters that way and pick up a muffin. Aisle 6, yeah. I remember it vividly. And I'll tell you what I do remember vividly was these white chocolate and strawberry muffins that Asda used to do, mate. They would have fucking...
that was on the end of the aisle, wasn't it?
Yeah. But seriously, they were unreal. And like, I think about that. But then in the mornings, there was a canteen. I could get a 12-item breakfast for fucking £2.50 or something like that.
Ridiculous.
But the knowledge I had, I didn't know what I was doing to myself, but I knew that I wasn't hungry. I wasn't like fucking ravenous. I ate
it because I felt hungry.
Yeah. But then sooner rather than later, you're showing it by your energy levels. And when I look back at my energy levels back then, confidence levels, I was 18, 19, going out in town. I couldn't even say hello to a woman, let alone like, how are you? Can I have your number? Be really good to take you on a date kind of thing. And I'd kind of raveled myself in this, like, I'm one of the lads. I don't need this. I don't need that. And it was just my lifestyle, and turned into an insanely unhealthy one. until I started to take a little bit more care of my shape when I started to learn about this was obviously 3 years into that journey. I'd gone from like I've never been thin ever. Like when I look back at like photos of me as a kid, I was born 11 pound 10, mate.
Fuck.
Like
That's
I
heavy.
came out
Wow.
the sunroof, and
Obviously, happily for her.
yeah, happily for my mum. Probably born with a packet of cheese and onion crisps in my hand. Like,
Yeah.
all right, like out we come.
So, did you get
Yeah.
any eating habits from your parents?
Well, do you know what? I had a very frank conversation with my mum not in like a horrible way, but we were just talking about like our lives and stuff on Friday night. We went to watch Aladdin in Bristol. And I said, without being horrible, mum, I had the most amazing upbringing. But when it come to alcohol, my dad was always like play Skittles. You know what Skittles is?
Yeah.
Play Skittles on a Friday night, goes to football on a Saturday, and then spends a Sunday in the afternoon watching the football on the TV in the pub. Like, so surrounded by alcohol and drink from when I was 6 years younger, because my dad would work on a Sunday, and some shifts I'd go to the pub with him, sit in the club, come home smelling of cigarettes.
Yeah, because you could then.
Because you could smoke inside, and then obviously go home. And then on the flip side, food, like mum and dad knew what was healthy. Like they knew that a salad was healthier than eating a plate of fish and chips. But still, on a Saturday night, like the Chinese, it would always be a Chinese, or there would always be a fish and chips in the week, or something like that. And like they're both great cooks, and they can both like that. And this is I love my parents to bits, right? But in terms of the knowledge that they gave me around food, when you see my best mate, for example, Lewis Voisey, his family would eat healthy together, and they knew how to like make those decisions
like
and stuff.
the habits as a family, yeah.
But my mum and dad didn't, and through no fault of their own, because they'd never had that education, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all of this stuff I do now, it's been self-taught, completely and utterly self-taught, and I don't mean that in a big-headed way, but even when it comes to Friday night, being at this the theatre with my mum, we had like a really nice dinner. We went to like this American diner thing. I had like the beef brisket and like, you know, the fried bread that's been in, and that was like a cheap meal for me. And we're like, oh, let's get some like a snack or something for inside. Mum was like, oh, we can get this and this. And I was like, well, I'm going to get like a meal deal, but have the fruit pot, a small chocolate bar, and a drink.
Yeah.
And that was, but like, I don't know, 2015, 16, if I'd have done the same, I'd have gone pack of 12s, fucking Skittles, bag of crisps, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I won't ever let myself go into that way of, I won't let myself, because I won't let myself go back into those old habits
but
that
it's
didn't
that trauma,
serve
isn't
me.
it, of being there?
Yeah.
So how heavy are you at your heaviest?
23, 2. I was 138 kilograms on the scales in my old job, and we used to weigh helicopter parts, right? So,
So
they were
helicopter-
made. Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So you know you weren't breaking them ones.
I wasn't going to break them. Yeah.
So
And,
how old were you when you were 23 stone?
24.
When did you reach that?
24. 20.
So
literally
you
like
nearly,
a stone a
nearly
year.
matched yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Nearly.
So how did you feel at the time
I tell you what.
versus now?
There's a photo of me, right? And and it's really bizarre because I've really spoken about this quite freshly with my mum on Friday night. And there's my mate last week, funny, and it's so recent in my saved photos, sent me a photo of probably my last year in that job when I first started to get a handle of myself. And so that was even the energy in my face, I think.
Camera.
Yeah, because does it even?
I don't know if you can see it.
I'll
put it on the screen.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But like the whole face shape, the energy but like I look underneath my eyes, you can see that I'm like not looking after myself, right? Yeah. And that, believe it or not, was when I probably first started to shift a bit of weight. I may have been 20 stone then, maybe 19. I'd lost some stonage, but I wasn't looking after myself as I obviously
a completely
do.
different person, isn't it? Really, like shape wise, yeah.
Yeah, and people say that. Like people who haven't seen me for a long time they're almost a bit they don't know how to handle me, because I still have that element, like fun side to me, but it's less now than they're used to, because it doesn't evolve round finishing a game of football and smashing back 8 pints and being one of the last people on the dance floor in the local club. It's very much based around, my life is have fun, but also make sure I'm looking after
boundaries and
yeah 100%, yeah. And yeah, I do find it somewhat a challenge at times, because you have this, we've spoken about Goop a little bit, like on the episode we recorded for you, like the good opinion of other people. That Harry there was like so warped in that, believe it or not, because I'd be scared to put myself out there. I wouldn't really speak about my feelings too much. I knew that I wasn't. I'd have like nights after. So I used to be a manager of a football team, and I'd have nights where I'd go home.
Is that an actual football team or on the computer?
A real football team, yeah. It was a real football team. We were really successful, and that my what the fuck moment was, we got to a cup final. I know we're. I don't want to go over what I've spoken about already, but there was a moment where my team got to a cup final, and there was a squad of 18 of us. You only picked 16 for the match day squad, and I knew at the state and the fitness levels and the size I was less use than a player that I may have been better than technically, but they were fitter than me.
Yeah.
And it was like a big day for the family. Like my uncle was out there watching. Like one of my other uncles was the chairman of the club. So there's a lot of my family there to watch that game. But Harry's manager, he's not player.
Yeah.
So and then on that morning, I'd woken up like excited, but also like, fuck, I wish I was playing. And I went out to try and run a mile, and I couldn't run a mile. And I genuinely couldn't run a mile. I got, fuck knows, probably less than 400 meters down the road. And I was like, you know, when you're like...
So it was all long base, not...
Yeah,
you weren't hurting in joints to chill out?
No, it was just, I was like, I was spent. Like there was no fitness element to me. And then I was like, then you get those thoughts of, hold on a minute. 3 years ago, I was scoring a hat trick in one of the college teams, being like training with the academy. And then you're not. Yeah.
So what from that point there, is that when you just thought, I need to change?
Fitness wise, yeah. And there was kind of 2 points in my growth as to who I am now with regards to energy and stuff, because like I said, that photo there, I'd started to lose weight. I'd started to like take a bit on board around the calorie deficit and all of that kind of thing. I just got myself a girlfriend at the time, which was very new to me. Like honestly, that was my second relationship, and I would have been 24, 20. Yeah.
It's pretty mad.
Yeah. And all of these things were starting to take shape, but there was, after 2 years of just losing weight, there was like a moment where I started to realize that I wasn't not happy. I just wasn't able to handle like how I was feeling. So like I'd have like these feelings of, am I still on the right track of answering this question?
No, yeah.
I have these feelings of anxiousness, and obviously in the news, and it was like around the time that men's mental health had started to become a big thing, and I was like, I never want to be that. I never want to be like that anxious man, and like somebody that's gonna get depressed, and then obviously like the stats become one of the statistics, right? But there was something about me that just wasn't right, and didn't know what it was, and I wasn't that happy in my relationship. It was around. This person I have so much respect for. Like they didn't do anything wrong. We were just two different people, two different times in our lives. They wanted something then. I didn't want that lifestyle at that point in my life. I found like I was just starting to find out who I was.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I was just about to buy a house too. And there was this like crunch moment in 2019 or 2020 where all of this build up of like anxiety, low mood just came to a head on Christmas Day, where I just had a fucking bit of a breakdown in front of my mum and her now new husband, Phil. And they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know, but something's not right with me right now. And
why Christmas? What? Something trigger it?
Mate, you know, like this is something I have to, like, I don't mind talking about it openly neither. And Mum and Dad, if you ever do listen to this episode, I'm sorry to bring it up, but I still feel like on Christmas Day it does bring up those I wish that I still had that family,
Yeah, of course,
kind of moments. And it does do that every now and again. Like I'll go and see Dad in the but obviously there was like way more to it than that. But it can like trigger emotions, right? And I will go and see Dad in the day and then try and like split my day in two, really. So I'd done that part and then got to Mum's and there was nobody at Mum's house and it felt very lonely. And I felt very lonely at that point because I wasn't happy in my relationship, but didn't feel like how I was feeling at that time was something that was being not taken seriously, because of course it was taken seriously. But unfortunately at the time, my partner was feeling like the things I was going through was her fault, which then added a bit of pressure onto how I was feeling. And it wasn't. It was just I was trying to discover, after all of them years of like subjugating myself and keeping myself quiet, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to achieve in life. I was just in this like repetitive circle. I just got a new job, which was earning me more money than I ever thought I'd earn in my life. That didn't bring me any extra happiness and those kind of things. So yeah, it was just a moment of like, this is the point now where I've kind of got myself in some form of physical shape. Again, I've got a photo of that kind of like, I wasn't really in any, I just lost weight. I'd not started, like, I'd not took my sleep seriously. I'd not took my hydration seriously. I'd not took my screen time seriously. I was watching porn probably more regularly than I probably should have been. And now I know more about that. Like you realize the effect that it can have on a young male in society these days.
Please just let me stop you there for a second. I just want to, first of all, say, thank you for following the podcast. It is such a massive response that we get off these podcasts, and they're getting better and better. So first of all, I want to say thank you. But secondly, I want to give you something for free. Okay, I've been speaking a lot about consistency at the moment with people, and people struggle to keep that consistency. They set a goal, they get frustrated, they don't understand sort of like the infrastructure of how it works. And then they start digging into that, start to make momentum, but then drop off and lose their consistency. And I see this so often with things. Maybe you're thinking this for yourself right now. So if you DM me on Instagram and ask me for the consistency link, I'll send it across to you. It's a fresh video that I've made last week where I take you through in depth how to really build a momentum of consistency for you in everything that you do. And you can really apply it to anything in the world. Anything that you attack with consistency, this matters, and it'll fix anything that you're working on with that. So just quite simply go to Instagram and just drop me a message and just say, hey Dean, can you send me the consistency? Hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. So do you feel like you had that like light bulb moment and then you changed your life, or was it about, right, I need to change my life, but I need to then discover?
We half spoke about this on the 100% episode with you, didn't we? And did I think I had a light bulb moment? Yes, because not in the sense of I've now discovered absolutely everything that I want in my life, because a light bulb moment of, oh yeah, this is who I am, I've got it nailed down now, because I think as soon as you get in that position, you're inviting all of those feelings that I was fighting against. Yeah, like the comfortableness, but with the coaching that got added to me losing weight, which then I started to take more seriously and train really, when you look at my gym history, I've not taken gym seriously before maybe 3 years ago, or when COVID 2020, like end of COVID, I'd start to, and I say that's 4 years now, so it's a fair amount of time. But actually, like when you look at that journey of, I started losing weight in 2018, I was mainly doing that through calorie deficit and cardio, which then led to this physique that like led to a drooping looking face, drooping looking body. I'd lost weight, but didn't add to my confidence or anything like that. The light bulb moment for me, Dean, was realizing that I was a man who had way more to offer than what he was offering at that point.
In respects to
how I can influence other people.
Right, yeah.
The
How you show up.
how
who
I
you
show
are.
up. So
Yeah,
in
yeah.
life, which I still challenge myself on a regular basis. Like, you can still find yourself internally thinking about something in a certain way, and you really have to shake yourself up to be like, fucking hell, Harry, come on, man. Like, this isn't who you say you're going to be. It's okay to feel like that, but you have a choice then to go, this is how I'm going to show up today.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes your parents piss you off, right? Or your parents are irritating you. I could go back into that old Harry mode that like would have like a proper alpha like the alpha dad, you're being a fucking idiot, or like that kind of argument with your dad. But actually, I don't anymore. I just show up better. And as much as it irritates you, people do, and I use my dad as an example, but like that's like anybody could irritate me, but they're doing the best for themselves at that moment, which is something that obviously we've picked up from Paul. But I guess it's having more empathy for where people are in life, and like I said earlier, that can sound a bit patronising, but people only know what they know, and I know enough now to know that
they're doing their best.
They're doing their best, but also I can do better.
Yeah.
Like in the way that I'm handling the situation, and again, it comes down to the perception thing that we've spoken about earlier. But there was the light bulb moment for me. I guess the light bulb moment for me is, there's the light bulb.
Keep walking
fucking
towards it.
yeah. And which is a nice.
As opposed to a moment that it changed.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've done things that have helped me prove to myself that I can be this person too. So the endurance events, which we alluded to, well, I mean, I've alluded to a lot on my own show and in my content, the ultra, the London Marathon, the first half marathon I ever did, even when I go back to like the unhealthy looking me that did my first running event, like a 10K. Actually, that 10K, when I signed up to it, was just as much of a challenge to me as when I signed up for the ultra.
Yeah. At that period of time. Yeah, of course.
So, like, and that helps. And I think that's what the biggest reality check and take home for me has been in this whole creation of who I am today. And who knows what's going to happen in the future, but it's about breaking past your thought processes. And even as something as simple as like getting a takeaway on a Saturday night, which I still have which would have been a pattern in my life, right? Even when I speak about from when I was a kid to when I was 26 years old, like whenever I was 23 stone, that would have just happened. It would have been Saturday night after football, takeaway. I still have that thought now. It would be just easier to get a takeaway. What
do you do then? Do you just physically stop yourself doing it?
Yeah, because I've got the stuff in the freezer that like I've meal prep very regularly.
You just all of a sudden go get a grip.
You're a different person now. Yeah.
So what do you think then when it comes to, because obviously you've been, you've not been the most of the extreme version of somebody that's piled weight on, but you've been at a point where you really wasn't happy, and you look back and you're embarrassed to look at it and think, actually, I'll never let that happen again. What do you think's the thing that can help other people that are in that situation to be able to see that there is a better life? Because you know that feeling of there is something better, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's so great.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the thing that you could tell people that there is a better life?
It's a great question, because you can go down the whole route of I personally believe that heads up approach first always. And then you can start doing the scientific approach of, okay, let's look at your protein, let's look at your calories, let's make sure that we're hitting a step goal. Like, just for 3 really basic examples. If you get a client to you, to me, to anybody who says they want to lose weight, but fundamentally they're in a really shit place, they're not happy, they're in a bad relationship, they hate their fucking 9-to-5 job, and any other examples, they're still coping with something, blah, blah, blah. If you don't get a handle on that first, I don't think that you're ever going to be totally successful in regards to the thing that they want.
Yeah, the
journey that they want. Yeah. So, like, if you was to speak to somebody and say, like, or if you just spoke to Harry in 2016, Harry, you've come to me because you've lost weight. What are the reasons you want to lose weight? I'd have probably said to you, because my dad told me I look fat in. Well, didn't say that I look fat. He just said, Harry, you've put on weight in a shirt that I used to look fucking good, like decent in. It would have been because I couldn't speak. Like, if you'd have gone into it and asked more questions around the reasons why I wanted to lose weight, it would have been way more than, what waist size I was at the time. There would have been so many other caveats because I couldn't play football. And I think when you, as a weight loss coach, fat loss coach, start putting your emphasis on the feelings that people get by hitting many little achievements. Don't get me wrong, like, the scales has a place. Of course it does. Yeah, because it's data. Data is great. Data overrides drama every day of the week. I've not lost. I don't feel like I'm losing weight. Okay, well, the scales. Let's have a look. Yeah. But photos are the best thing for that. But also, well, going back to the trail of thought I was on then, is that when you have little milestones, like, okay, you've got a client that's come to you, they've never even stepped foot in the gym, and they've stepped foot in the gym and they've done their first weight session and they feel fucking insane afterwards. That's a milestone. You have a client who's come to you and they're wearing a bikini for the first time on holiday, and they never thought they'd wear a bikini on holiday. That's an insane milestone. All of these little milestones are the things that then prove to you that the weight loss journey that you said you want, or the fat loss journey you said you want, is worth it. And where that becomes an issue is people just don't give it enough time.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, and they want quick fixes.
Which is like, if we was to, I don't want to go too 21st century and too politicsy chat. That's just the 21st century in general now, right? Like, everything feels like it needs to be
now.
A get rich, get quick scheme. Even to the extent of, if we speak about dopamine and endorphins, like, you can speak about all of the healthy ways possible with regards to how you can get that, but people would still rather, or I say would still rather, they don't know that they're feeding that cheap endorphin and dopamine
quick hit.
by, I mean, we're all fucking addicted to it in some ways.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Phone buzzes, like, straight over there, or like, you hear the ding of, like, a Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp go off. You're instantly, your brain is like, bang. That's not by coincidence, by the way. It's done on purpose.
It's all been built up.
Yeah.
I actually turn my notifications off on watch now. So when you think about it, you've got a watch that's really good for notifications that doesn't even do notifications anymore.
Yeah, well, do you know, I did the same thing on my. So this isn't a new Garmin, but I bought it off my mate because I had a free, and this is just sums me up as I try and live with this, like, whatever I've got for the longest period of time I can. Anyway, I got a 5, and it started giving me, like, oh, somebody's like this on Instagram, blah blah blah. I'm like, fuck, I don't want this. It took me ages to work out how to get rid of it, but now I've turned it off. I'm so much more content because it genuinely does feel like you're a bit trapped to, like, yeah, of course, like, you don't not post a video or a post to Instagram to not. You don't want interaction.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm not
but if you're
locked into it. Yeah. And I found that I would be like, But
with things like that, it's about chasing the right data. Because if you chase the wrong data, then you're chasing for chasing sake. Whereas if you look at, it's like obviously when you look at, like, things like that, if you're trying to get likes, then, well, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, aren't you, really? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
But if you're trying to get more leads or something, if it's a business-related thing, then look at your actual leads rather than your likes.
Yeah, or even
I mean, that's where it's like it changes per person and what they're trying to look for.
And you'll understand this as much as anybody else. Like, with the podcast, it's hard because there are so many huge, well-established podcasts that talk about the same things that I do, the same things that you do. And one thing that I very much, like, I don't, as much as I knew that I'd hit 20,000 downloads, I think that's a milestone that should have been noted and should have been appreciated just for myself. Like, there you go, mate. Well done. Like, I'm actually going to give yourself a pat on the back right now, which I don't think people do enough of neither.
No, agree.
But where I'm going with that is that, like, some of my pods, like, will barely even take off the ground with downloads, but somebody might message me from that low
that is golden.
Yeah, and they're like, holy fucking shit moment kind of thing. Harry, that's really helped me. And you go, well, that's
just as good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is crazy when you think about it. And going back to the whole quick dopamine thing, unfortunately, the lifestyle we have now, or the life that is set up for us by the greater media, and this isn't being conspiratorial, they want you to look for those quick hits. that quick fix because it suits their like how they make money, ads on the TV, ads on TikTok, like it's all
More
there
eyes, more
ready.
everything,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
More eyes. And where I would just check your screen time if this has hit a nerve with you to just see how much you are chasing that quick dopamine
I
hit.
think the thing that crushes me still sometimes is like, so too many people are still saying that they're not getting results, but they're not putting the right effort in.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And we could look at this broad across life. I'm not just saying fat loss, not just saying business, I'm not saying whatever. But people are like, oh, it's not working. But there's a reality check there. It's not working, you're not working.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you can't expect to do something that somebody else has done and expect it to work the same thing as, you know, exactly the same way that
Yeah,
it's
it's
worked for them.
you can't get any different from the things you've got right now by doing the same things, right? Yeah.
And then obviously, stupidly, I know it sounds harsh to say stupidly, but it's true. People then just do more of that thing.
I know it's
You know,
there's-
it's like something's not working, so I'll do more of it.
believe it or not, there is some element of comfort that people resort back to by even when I think about my like when you think about that thought brainwave that I'll have, and honestly, they are like to be fair, Paul speaks about it a lot, right? When he doesn't hear back from people, when he sees people aren't checking in, all of that kind of stuff. 9 times out of 10, it's because people have gone back to their old habits and they don't want to admit it. And that's the same within like again, people won't put in the work for long enough to see the benefits pay off. And I do like something I speak about a lot within my coaching group, and I always challenge people's beliefs. Like if you're doing the same things you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't stick to that change, if you don't keep your meal prep up, if you don't like avoid the double takeaway at the weekend, all of that work you've done in the week is just irrelevant.
Yeah.
It literally makes it irrelevant, which then means that like cycle of, oh fuck, I've not done anything, or I've not improved, even though I've done 5 days of work. Yeah, of course you've not improved because you've literally just written them off by two decisions at the weekend.
Yeah.
But then where I'm going with that is like all of those old micro thought processes that I used to listen to still exist. The same thing for you, Dean, with like when we were speaking about like how things used to trigger you and you used to turn into this version of yourself that doesn't serve you anymore. You probably still get that like little fuck you kind of thing.
100%,
Yeah. But like you now know how to tame it. And like honestly, this weekend I'll openly admit I played football on a Saturday. I'm fucking hell, boring evening on Saturday night. I went and did my weekly shop, came back with all this food. I was like, I can't be fucked to cook. I was like, I'm gonna get a takeaway. I was on Just Eat, like ready to go, and I was like, what are you like? Stop! Like it was like one of them, like you literally, you know, when people say when you're experiencing, which is I think it's a load of wank, by the way, when you're having negative thoughts, tell yourself to stop, right? It's bollocks. But in those situations, just pulling the cord on that process of like what's happening right now. Okay, I'm about to make a decision. Is future Harry going to be thankful for that decision, or is he going to regret it?
Yeah.
He's probably going to regret it. And then that's why I do my meal prep, right? Because I've got 4 meals: curries, chilies, turkey sausage bake, or like homemade fish and chips that I can just go, there you go, done.
Yeah.
And then like you're satisfied. You get the same satisfaction from eating a chili con carne with half a packet of fucking Aldi rice than I would have done. In fact, I was more satisfied after that because it didn't leave me with the shit feeling that you get after eating a takeaway.
No, of course, yeah. It's literally that. Well, it's like the walk of shame sort of feeling, right?
Oh yeah, and like yeah.
Why did I do it? Then you're throwing it in the bin, thinking, "Fuck." Obviously, so I'm not massive on diet nowadays, right? So for me, it used to be massively about diet in strongman because it really was about my performance. I've relaxed more now.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts for people that are? Because I like to look at it as levels.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like, you know, quite simply, I can get away with being in that sort of like central level. And, you know, I've trained long enough. I'm in shape, good enough to be able to eat a little bit out, a little bit in, and I'm okay, happy doing what I'm doing. And it makes me feel happier because I don't feel like I'm having to stress myself out and being too on it, you know, when I used to do competitions. But what would you say, like, for people to think, or for people to get a grip of themselves, how do they know how much effort they need to put in?
I'll be really real with you on this subject. I think before I took on any endurance events, I don't want to say I had I had maybe the amber flags of monitoring my weight too much, and I don't mind admitting it, because I think when you are of the size I was, and like somebody spoke to me about it recently, a young woman from my way called Anna. She's a nutritionist, and she's very mindful with how she is, and she's on the lighter end of the spectrum of coaching, like the nice approach, whereas we're probably a bit more in the middle to fucking do what you said you would kind of territory. She was like, I think you have to have a bit of empathy for your former self, like the 23 stone.
Yeah.
And I'd never really considered that before.
Yeah.
I was always not running away from, but completely avoiding, like, this guy will never ever live again. But he does, because it was me.
Yeah, inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from that moment, and then you think about, like, obviously I created that situation to happen for me. I entered some endurance events, and when you are like training for an ultra marathon, food becomes your fucking friend rather than your enemy. And I knew that I was never an idiot, and like I knew where my line was with food, and I knew what was like beneficial for me for training, and I knew that I could eat big, like after I'd done like a really heavy training session, all those kind of things. I never got to a stage where I was not eating, but I would say I was in a stage where if I had a heavy weekend on the beers or with a big takeaway, that I might be beating myself up mentally, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday the following week. Whereas now I've grown past that, and I'm probably training like just through lifestyle choice more, that I don't even need to worry about it.
Yeah.
The only thing that's happened recently is I'm playing a higher level of football than I've ever played, and I don't mind admitting that neither. I'm going to play senior football for the first time ever at 31 years old. And senior football, by the way, people are like, does that mean you're old? I'm like, well, I am getting old, but no, I'm not. But I am getting old. I'm 31, which is old in terms of football, but it's just a higher level of football, right? Yeah. And you have to be fitter, and everybody's lean. And I'm like, not lean in terms of like muscular, but they're just fucking whippets.
Yeah.
They get around quick. So I'm like, okay, just need to lose a few kgs to help me out in that front. I want to play the best I've played. Like,
where'd you play? Position?
Centre mid. So I've got to move. I've got to shift.
Yeah.
And I say shift. I don't have to be quick, but I just need to get around the pitch.
Yeah, you need to own your ground.
Yes, exactly that. So that's like a new territory that I haven't been in. I say new territory. It's a territory I haven't been in for a long time, like 18 months. So I'm now back focused on where my weight's at. But how do people manage that the best? In my opinion, this is an opinion really, and when I speak to my clients, they know when they're comfortable. They know the point. When you speak to people about their energy levels, when you speak to them about how confident they're feeling, when you speak to people about how they're performing in the gym, and they say, not good, not good, not good, we still got work to do on the whole, maybe losing weight front and developing this energy from somewhere. If you speak to somebody on a Monday afternoon on their 50-day or my 50-day check-in calls that I have with them, say energy out of 10, 9. How are you feeling in the gym, in your gym clothes? 8. And in terms of your confidence with your body and how you are around people, 9 out of 10. You go, okay, now we're at a stage where I want to ask you a question of, do you think weight loss should be your focus now? And they'll tell you, Dean. I think this comes to, I put a post out a couple of weeks ago basically saying, you know what to do. And I do think 9 times out of 10, people know what to do. People know how they're feeling. But they're just not asked, or they're not pushed not asked the right question, or not pushed farther enough in the right direction to get the answers they want. And I think if a listener listens to that question, like, I'm still focusing on the scales, even though I've lost weight, I'd say, okay, let's talk about them 3 things that I've just mentioned there, like performance, where's it at? Confidence, where's it at? Gym clothes or bikini and or budgie smugglers on the beach, where you at in terms of how you feel? Yeah. If you are, and then you've got to be looking at the other end of the spectrum. Are you comparing to other people? Let's compare with you. Budgie smugglers, when you were 2 stone heavier to now, you'd probably look insane. You put on a bit of muscle, right? And I think there's so much in the fitness industry that's like wrong. And when it comes to body image, because I think even coaches can portray their bodies to be the thing to aim for.
Yeah.
When
It's unrealistic for many of
for
them.
most people,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. And I think it's always you v you. I don't know. I don't mean to be cheesy when I say that, but to get the best feel good factor when I've been on my journey, whether it be through times in races, to lifts, to my physique, to my energy, I always compare it to where I was.
Yeah.
Because that gives you the biggest boost ever. And if people are doing that enough, if people are like, if we talk about the community, the 100% community, like if people are monitoring their wins enough, if people are using the gratitude of where they've come from to where they are now, if they're doing that enough, that confidence in gym gear, in their own skin, in how they feel around other people, in terms of their overall energy, will just start to increase gradually anyway, because they're putting their focus in the right areas, right? And yeah, we could speak about that till the cows come home.
What are the things that you're doing to keep them accountable in your program?
So I do a bottoms up, shoulders up, heads down approach.
Yeah.
So in terms of my coaching, we always speak about like what they want to achieve. And again, when you speak about it, 9 times out of 10, it would be, I want to lose a little bit of weight. And then you say why. So then when it's the why thing and it's around confidence, it's like, okay, well, that's not going to build itself. We've got to create it. So I introduced a journal to every client of mine. And obviously some are better at using it than others.
Yeah.
But in that journal, it gives them an opportunity to plan out their days and their weeks, and then obviously review their days and their weeks as well, which allows them to see what's going well for them. And also, in the same breath, allows me to coach them on where they're going wrong, but also, and again, it allows them to see maybe where they've not got it quite right that week, which then coaches yourself, right? The best lessons are sometimes the ones that you notice yourself.
Discover and
Obviously, like having a structure. So I don't think there's any successful muscle gain, weight loss, mindset improvement that you'll ever go on that doesn't have some form of structure. And I don't mean you do the same thing every day, day in, day out.
It's knowing what to do as you're doing it.
Having some kind of plan and having some kind of routine that you can rely on to get you the results that you want to go and get. And the community, mate. Like, the community is growing, which is like, it's lush to see, because starting to see people interact more, people who came into my program with like zero self-worth and confidence to now openly telling the whole group what they're doing in their weekends and how they feel after doing X, Y, and Z exercise. And most recently, I'm now offering one-to-one sessions, which is one of my higher packages as such, which sounds crazy when I say it like that. Like, you're almost in like a pinch me position, you know, because you're speaking about your old self and then you're speaking about the new self. So I'm offering one-to-ones, which I think really, I'm never going to be a coach that's like, I know the anatomy of what's going wrong between your fucking shoulder and your bicep and why you're getting this reaction. However, if you come and spend an hour with me in the gym, you'll feel fucking motivated, you'll have a good session, and you'll probably learn something about a lift that you didn't learn before. And then obviously his bonus one is I will coach you how to beat the beliefs about what you can achieve in the gym, because I've done that myself over the last 4 years, whether it comes to running or my lifting. I've consistently and continually proved myself wrong.
But that is why your story is so powerful, though, isn't it? Because you've done all that and you're just teaching what you've done. You don't need to be naming all the bones, muscles, ligaments. It's not about that, is it?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that my story is powerful, because I think same as you, right? Like, you talk about yourself sometimes and your story, and I'm like, fuck me, mate, that's amazing. And you're like, is it? You know? And then like, oh, I don't know, like maybe you do know this, a cool story, but like, I'm like, yeah, fucking hell, yeah, it is cool. I really have to, like, I genuinely really have to take the time, which probably falls back into that old Harry brain of not having much confidence. But obviously I've got loads of I've created an automated confidence system.
Yeah. Without realizing you was doing it. Yeah.
Still, even now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why as well, I ask about how you keep people accountable, because there are so many different systems and ways and structures that you can do that. But actually, it's just being real with themselves and highlighting like you say, highlighting your wins, highlighting what's not working, highlighting what we need to do next, and just keeping people on that journey. It is the key to it, right? But that's why it's so powerful with what you do, because you're just teaching all the stuff that you've ever done.
Yeah.
And that's, like, I mean it when I say it, that's why I love your story, man. It's something that, to know that you've literally gone half, or not quite half, but you've gone, a quarter of you has dropped off. Do you know what I'm saying? It's, to think about it like that, and then you've now done marathons and ultra marathons. It's pretty insane. But
yeah, thanks, mate. One story that stands out in my brain right now, I know we've got to push the reset button or even stop in a minute, but like I was saying to you about people with different beliefs and stuff, and the one thing, since I've started doing the one-to-one stuff, as much as it's very much a like higher part of my package now, because I want to be an online coach, I want to have like residual income that keeps coming in, like without having to go and utilize too much of my time. But one thing I will say on that, when I do spend one-to-one time with a client who may need a little bit of a boost, for me to literally be there so they can prove themselves wrong. When you see themselves prove themselves wrong,
and they realize I can do it.
It's fucking mad.
Yeah,
just knowing that
you're able to stimulate that for them.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
But that's why as well, there's some people that they do need that one-to-one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I always try, I always pull away from the one-to-one for me personally, just because I want to spend my time with more people.
Yeah. And this is
but at the same
balance.
time, you're right. Like it's sometimes people just need that one-to-one support so they can actually see what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, and when it comes back to like where I'm at, I think it's never been more prominent in my life, like what I am here to do. And whether it be whether my coaching program goes from where it's at now with like double figures clients, and I'll be content with that forever, or it grows and I've got 1,000 people under the Harry Purdy coaching bracket one day, who fucking cares? Because I'll still be helping someone, you know? So
I just want to stop you again for a split second. Now, you've probably heard me talk about Line Mind X quite a lot. If you are somebody that often goes through life procrastinating and not really understanding what to do next, you have these big goals, big visions, but then you all of a sudden lose your energy and not know where to turn next. Line Mind X is here to help you plan the shit out of your next 90 days. And that is as simple as it is. We work on your next 90 days, nothing else. And that's why it's so potent and powerful. We make sure that whatever you commit to in that 90 days happens, and we really drive everything forward. We count back from the 90 days. We work out your months, weeks, your days, and even down to the things you do in the day to make sure that you are doing what you said you were going to do, and you are electrifying everything that happens throughout that period, and you're crushing your goals. So if you want to learn more about Line Mind X, jump on the freebie that's in the link below, and you will be able to learn a little bit understanding of exactly what we're about, and then you can take it to the next step if you want to. Speak to you soon.
So what's your big vision in your business right now? Where do you want to take things next?
So I like people. Lots of people do know and don't know that I do have a full-time job as well as what I'm doing. My dream is that at one stage in my life I'll be able to shift to part-time and then completely go all in with Harry Purdy coaching. It's like
What's your job day job?
So I work for a trade union as basically industrial relations. So keeping employers' relations good with the workers, essentially.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's like, it's been amazing. I've been doing that for 5 years. But I think I was speaking about earlier, really, with the Mark Manson, Paul Mort thing, and just to reiterate it on this podcast, like we're very much driven, aren't we, with the coaching that we have, but also there's an element of being okay with what you have. I'm so okay with what I have, but I know that if I want to impact more people, I'm going to need time. Time is something I can't spend £1,000 to get 10 more hours in a week, right?
Yeah.
Like I have to free up that time somewhere.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's manageable. I get my day-to-day job done, and then most evenings, most days is spent towards Harry Purdy coaching, which then links back to my mum saying to me the other day, like, are you sure you're like looking after yourself, right? And I'm like, I wouldn't do what I did if I didn't love it, right? So there's that. So, but realistically, I want Harry Purdy coaching, or I want the 100% coaching community to just be a thing that people can rely on to not find happiness, because that sounds fucking wanky. Because and one thing I'd say that there with that is I don't see Harry Purdy coaching just as a weight loss coaching community.
Yeah.
People have done and achieved way more than just lose weight within.
As much as that's what's attracted them.
Yeah,
They've developed in every other
exactly
aspect.
that. And obviously I have to again pat myself on the back to say that that's because of what I've done and what I can share with people. But if I can encourage people to go on the same journey I've been on through my coaching and how I perceive life and how I've taken on life over the last, like, realistically, we're talking, and this is the other part of the equation which I don't speak about enough, but over 8 years I've gone from losing a bit of weight to then really fucking nailing down and knowing how to look after myself and now help other people properly. If I can help people find their own way of doing that, then that's where I want my life to go. I just want to continue. And I've always been a coach, mate. Like, even at work, when I say at work, even my first proper job, I would teach people how to use like manual handling equipment at work. So it's always like public facing or people facing. Then I was a football manager, always been a football coach, like always been somebody that people would consider to be the leader. Like, I'm your captain, you're going to be the leader of this group, blah, blah, blah. But now I've got my own, like, it's because I want to be, like, it's for me. Like, I am the fucking leader of the Harry Purdy coaching 100% community. I host a podcast, I do this. It's fucking cool, mate. Like, and I want to impact.
So do you see yourself having a team of people in your?
For sure. I've got Scott is my Scott Henderson is my video editor. So go Scott Henderson edits on Instagram. He's really fucking good at what he does. Makes my life so much easier. And I have had my little cousin Drew. He's a tech mat. Like, he set up my whole office. And I've said to them both, like, if ever something goes big, I owe it to them that they're gonna.
You're cool with me.
Yeah, you're on the plane. Yeah, for sure.
So, where can people find you, and if so, what type of people do you want in your world?
So I want people who have listened to my story and found it inspiring, and they're like, shit, like I know what he's saying, like I know what I need to do, but I just need a little bit of a kick up the arse. In fact, I put that on a post I did today, like knowing that there's a quote I used today in my post, and it's knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. Those people. Yeah. Those people who know what they need to do, but they just need that to be in the right environment, the right coach. Those are the people I want. And look, at the end of the day, I'll always be picky with who I work with, right? I'll always want to know why they think they're a good client for me, right? You know, that's like a bit of a...
Yeah, but that's a wise business move, because you're building a brand.
For sure.
You don't want to build a brand around people that don't inspire you as well.
Yeah, exactly that. But people can find me at Harry Purdy Official on Instagram, Harry Purdy on Facebook, fuck knows on X or Twitter or whatever it's known as, and Harry Purdy, 100% pod on YouTube, and then the podcast as well, if people want to just listen to me ramble on with yourself or any other guests, is 100% podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
YouTube? No?
Yeah, and YouTube, yeah. And if people want to just see a couple of the free things I give away as tools, I have a free journal, which is a bit of it's like the first step of working with me. So you can see how I operate, see how I get you to start noticing the positive things that are going on around in your life, rather than focusing on the shit things like the news and all those kind of things. So if you want that and you find me on Instagram, just DM me saying journal, and I'll get it through to you. No problem whatsoever.
Well, your story is very inspirational, mate, and I mean that.
Thanks, my guy. I appreciate it.
No, honestly, it's nice, and you know, I can't wait to see you travel from where your location to location. I forget what they're called now, with your own body weight on.
Oh yes, Hewish Park, Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
I feel like that has to be Chelsea. Have been. We got time to talk about it quickly.
Yeah.
Chelsea Football Club, like mine and my dad's. Like, put me and my dad in a room. We might disagree on fucking 8 out of 10 things. Get us talking about football. We are like on the same. And I was really lucky, like with being brought up, taken to Stamford Bridge a lot as a kid. Like my first, like when you call them magic moments. So when you walk up as a 4-year-old and you see that stadium and 40,000 people and the pitch, and that's, if I say, where's your favourite place in the world? Probably there. And I want to go from my local football club to Stamford Bridge, running, hiking, walking, getting there on feet as my old body weight. That's the challenge this upcoming. So definitely, if you're going to follow me and keep
follow
an eye on
him
me,
to see it happen.
Yeah.
I wanna see
You're
it
going to be
happen.
supporting me, aren't you?
I will, mate. I'll be there. I might be in a vehicle.
Yeah.
Shout out the window saying, "Keep going."
Yeah, you old fat bastard.
Don't leave him behind.
Yeah.
But mate, appreciate you coming over. I know you've had a good long travel to get here. But
Yeah.
love it, mate. And I'm sure you'll inspire a lot of people.
Thank you.